Welcome to Patty Presents, a series of 9 programs featuring the young performing artists of Tucson in live concerts. Tucson's young performers in bands, orchestras, choruses, ballets, mariachis, children's theater, and Native American dancing groups are the stars of tomorrow.
Enjoy them today as Patty presents the Desert Indian Dancers under the direction of Danny Lopez in a performance in San Javier del Bac Mission south of Tucson. Organized 10 years ago by Danny and Florence Lopez to create more interest in the Papago Indian culture and to preserve their customs and traditions for their own people, the Desert Indian Dancers feature young performers between the ages of 4 and 15 years. Most of the Desert Indian Dancers live here on the San Javier Reservation, where this beautiful mission church, called the White Dove of the Desert, is located. For 15 years, Father Kieran McCarty was pastor of this mission church. A Franciscan priest, he is also a writer and historian, and is currently in residence at the University of Arizona, where his title is Historian and Research Consultant in the area of the Hispanic and Indian Southwest. Father McCarty will explain how the word Papago is not the preferred name of the desert people, but rather the name Odham, and how the term Papago came into use after the Spanish conquest. Father McCarty is the author of Desert Documentary, The Spanish Years, and Desert Documentary, The Mexican Years, as well as A Spanish Frontier in the Enlightened Age. You will also meet Danny Lopez, a man with a dream he shared with his wife Florence and his mother-in-law Frances Manuel. A dream for the sake of the children and those who come after, which became a reality with the organization of the Desert Indian Dancers in 1974, to keep away for a little while the erosion of civilization on the Odham traditions. Danny Lopez has another dream, to be a creative writer and to compose a history of his own village, Dickfields. Mr. Lopez currently works in cells on a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, researching tribal documents, which will eventually be used in a curriculum for the public schools in kindergarten through the 12th grade. Mr. Lopez has worked in a bilingual program on the reservation and has taught a course in Papago history and culture for Pima Community College. Frances Manuel shared Danny Lopez's dream for preserving native traditions and helped establish the first dancing group. Mrs. Manuel has been a vital force from the very beginning in forming and shaping the Desert Indian Dancers. She instructs the girls in their own language and tells them the symbolism of their movements. She helps with the training of the dancers and also sings with the musicians during the performance. The songs which accompany all the dances were written by Lorenzo Pablo and are based on an authentic tradition which goes further back in time than the memory of any living person. There are songs that come from dreams, songs that tell of nature, songs that name all the mountains of Pima County, songs of clouds and rain, of turtles and of corn, and the white clay paint that comes from Mother Earth. The dances you will see performed today come from Odham traditions which did not all start at the same time in history. They represent only one epoch in the saga of the desert people. And now, Patty presents the Desert Indian Dancers at San Javier del Bac Mission.
Well, most of our songs are about nature, the mountains. We have names for all these mountains that are around here. We sing about the clouds, rain, different birds, like I mentioned with the white bird symbols. Most of our songs for this group, and then for a lot of Papago songs, are about nature, the things that are around us, and the things that relate to water, like cloud, turtle. Because again, I guess according to mythology, we were told that one of the most important things to the desert people would be the asking for rain. So we do it through song and dance. You know, most of them are from right here at San Javier. We have a few that come from Tucson right now, but most of the children are from here at San Javier Mission. I think that was our purpose, was to, at one point, Mrs. Manuel had the same dream that we would try to teach the kids that were interested a little about their culture, their heritage with the songs and the dances. And so we've been doing this for about 10 years now, just volunteering our time. And I'm sure that Francis can also say some words about that too.
Oh, the youngest one is 4. That was the youngest person that came in. And then we get whoever they're interested, then they come in, and because if they come in, they have to do what we're asking them to do, also the parents. They have to sacrifice their time.
The noted historian and author, Reverend Karen McCarty, is a great friend of our performers today. Father McCarty, the Desert Indian dancers are from the Papago tribe. Is the word Papago the historical name of the tribe?
It's the name that we use most often today, but actually it's a misnomer. Our people call themselves the Oatam, and everybody has a right to their own name, so I think really we ought to not only respect that, but begin to use it. It isn't that difficult. Oatam, like 2 O's with a kind of glottal stop or a little break between the 2 O's, Oatam. From time immemorial, that's their name for themselves. It simply means the people, or we the people, or us, or our side. This pattern is common among Native Americans. The Apaches, too, their name for themselves, Diné, it means the people. And this misnomer, as I called it, was started by the Spaniards. There's even further confusion between Pima and Papago, both misnomers, started by the Spaniards in this case. The Papagos traditionally did not live beside the rivers, Santa Cruz or the Gila River in the north. To this day, we still call the people on the Gila the Pimas, which was the name the Spanish used for Oatam, who lived by the rivers. The Papagos lived out in the waterless desert. They're kind of the hillbillies. But in the course of time, many Papagos moved in, particularly to San Javier, so the bulk of the population at San Javier Village today is Papago. But to get back to the names themselves, there's a bit of humor in it, and I think a bit of tragedy. In the name Pima or Piman, we reconstruct the scene from about the 1560s, so a very long time ago, when one of the early Spanish expeditions came north, and around the middle Yaqui River, down in Sonora today, the Spaniards encountered Oatam. And reconstructing, obviously the Spanish began to ask questions. Obviously the Oatam didn't know what the question was about, didn't understand the Spanish language, and of course the Spaniards didn't understand Oatam, the first encounter. So the question, whatever it was, and most probably was something about, well, what's your name? You know, that's the way we start out conversations, no matter what language we're speaking. What's your name, or what's the name of your tribe? What are you called? So, time for the answer. The Oatam didn't know what the question was. They were in a bit of awe at these impressive Spaniards on large war horses and with a long Toledo blade at their side. And they were going to be pretty careful about what the answer might be. So if they'd said yes, that might have been not too good, especially if they said a flat no. It might have been very bad. In fact, they might even lose their head over the encounter. And so, very sensibly, they simply remained neutral and said, I don't know. So if you go out to a San Javier mission today and wait around till the children come out from our little mission school to the playground, you'll probably hear the phrase, Pimach, which means, I don't know. And so the Spaniards, more precisely Baltasar de Obregón, who was the chronicler of that Ibar expedition in the 1560s, wrote down, the name of this tribe is Pimach, thus Pima. The tragic side of it is that if you analyze it, these good people have held still for these many years to being called the I don't know people, or the know nothing people. That's an insight, an important one, because our people are very understanding and hospitable and warm and tolerant. They have put up with this for all this time. That's in short the origin of the term Pima. Papago, possibly Maui or Tom, the bean people, the Papagos, as I mentioned, lived further out away from the rivers in Spanish times, and they weren't able to raise cotton or corn through irrigation on the river. They lived off the tepary bean, the wild growth of the desert. So the Bowie, and the Spaniard once again asked the question about those people who live way out there, what do you call them? And the answer was, well, we call them the bean-eating people, the Bowie Oatam. And the Spaniard put down Bowie Oatam Papago. Well, that's how we reconstruct that. So it isn't that difficult to start using the word Oatam.
With our kids, the desert people, the tribe, we were never really fancy like some of the other tribes. They were those bustles or whatever they call them, and glass and big bells. But we're pretty simple, and what but according to legend, there were certain colors that the people used, and even though we don't use whatever was used traditionally, say 100 years ago, we try to use what we can for the kids, because at one time we didn't even have any dances. and we've only been together within the past 10 years, so this is mainly Mrs. Manuel's with another lady that she worked with at that time that kind of put the customs together because again, like for the boys, that's how the man dressed, well, not with that, with ribbons, but just a wraparound. That was the way they dressed out here because they lived in a hot country. The girls, even at one time, they just had a wraparound too with nothing above the waist, and that was the way they dressed out here, simple style, slow moving, taking their time about doing things right.
What association do the Desert Indian dancers have with the San Javier Mission?
Well, we've tried to encourage this kind of thing, and for some time now, are people retrieving and reviving things from their past, the things that were very worthwhile and very important to them before the Spaniards came, or before Christianity came, if you will. And certainly the desert dances are doing this as well as could possibly be done. Anything that Danny Lopez does, I think, is very worthwhile. And we aid and abet and affirm him all the way, to the hilt. I do believe that the Spanish mission system had that as a defect, that they, with the kind of worldview of the time of incoming European, of not incorporating more of the earth religion, we call it, of the Otam, of our Indian people generally.
For which special occasions at the San Javier Mission do the Desert Indian dancers perform?
Perhaps the best known occasion is the historical pageant presented by the Tucson Festival Society with the cooperation of the University of Arizona and the San Javier Mission, obviously. That's given every year on the first Friday after Easter. Desert dancers are much a part of that. Then also they dance for it comes from within them. Something where not a lot of tourists are around. Nothing wrong with tourists. At the same time, I wouldn't like to see them, and I certainly would not encourage either the tourist side or the Native American side turn this whole thing into a kind of exhibit, or just to show. It's educational. It's very good that a film like this is being made. But the danger is that the inner meaning or the inner spirit of this thing might be lost, maybe kind of overshadowed by the externals, which are exotic and unique and attractive, educational, if you will. And I dare say our people still have enough of the spirit within in doing these things that's not coming to pass. So, for their own reasons or religious reasons, if you will, is an affirmation on their part of their veneration of the earth, the sacredness of the earth.
Well, we call that tawago, or we also say which was once a part of purification dance. But
the dance is, well, when the girl comes of age, they're supposed to do it 16 days. I mean, she was supposed to go on fast 16 days, no salt or nor anything, or not go near the fire. But at the end, they do that one to breathe out what it's in now and get it out of her system and start pure again, start from there.
You have just seen a performance of the Desert Indian Dancers under the direction of Danny Lopez. Acclaimed for their preservation of Odham customs in their dances, they have gained national recognition from their tours to Sheridan, Wyoming and White River, as well as their yearly participation in the Tucson Meet Yourself Festival. The Desert Indian Dancers have been seen on national television on the Nice People program and will soon be featured on the series Portraits of America.